Okay, one more time. One more time. When the two crocodiles have different angles here, angle A and angle D. Angle D is bigger than angle A. But does that mean segment EF will always be bigger than segment BC? Let's hear what you think. Okay, so if angle is bigger, the opposite side is always longer. If you think it's true, thumbs up. If you think it's not true, thumbs down. Ready? 1, 2, 3. If you don't know, you can do the sideways. Okay. All right. For the question I just asked you, the answer is no. Just because angle here is bigger than the angle here does not guarantee that the segment here will be always longer. Let me show you why. I'm just gonna draw here. Let's say I have a triangle that looks like this. And that's angle A. Okay? And I have a triangle that looks like this. And that's angle B. Looking at this angle A and angle B, which one is bigger?
B is bigger.
Yeah, B is bigger. But looking at the opposite side, which one is bigger? This one's bigger.
A, yeah.
Right? So we cannot say just because the angle is bigger, the opposite side is always larger or longer. We cannot say that. So that's why I asked you, there has to be some condition for that statement to be true. What do you think the statement is, or the condition is? Okay, anybody? Any idea? Okay, let me choose somebody to answer. How about Temini? Can you kind of guess? Can you guess what those conditions would be?
모르겠는데.
모르겠어요? 다시 let me rephrase my question.
When the other two sides have same length.
Ooh, that's very close. That's very close. What do you mean by other two sides? Like here and here have the same length?
No, I mean they have corresponding sides. Two other corresponding sides.
Oh, so you mean if
congruent sides.
Good. Okay, look at these alligators. Look at these alligators. There are hints here. Look at the red line, and blue line, blue line. Okay, so if we can prove that one pair and two pairs of the sides are equal, congruent to each other, and they have different angle measurement, then we can say the larger angle always gives the longer opposite side. Does that make sense? Okay, one more time. If the two triangles share one and two pairs of two congruent sides, 두 개의 사이드가 congruent하면, then the third side, 세 번째 사이드는 depending on the angle opposite from that, if the angle is bigger than the other one, the side is longer than the other one. That is called the hinge theorem. Okay, so let's look at the formal definition. Oops. Okay, everybody, this is kind of confusing, but if you understand what I just said, I think this will make much more sense. So hinge theorem. Okay, everybody turn on your mics. Let's read them together. Ready, set, mics on, zoom in, mic on. Okay, ready, go.
If two sides of a triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle and the included angle of each is larger than the included angle of the second, the third side of first triangle is longer than the third side of second triangle.
It's very wordy. It may sound confusing, but basically what we just did, if two triangles share two congruent sides, right? And let's do it this way. If two triangles share two congruent sides, then the angle determines the length of the third side. So then the third side of first angle, if the angle of the first is larger, if this angle is larger, then the side is longer. That's the hinge theorem. Okay. Now the opposite, not the opposite, converse of hinge theorem is basically same idea, but this time it's saying same condition. If two sides are congruent, and the second condition is a little different, and the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second triangle, then the angle is greater. So hinge theorem says if the sides are two sides are congruent, and if the angle is larger, then the side is longer. The converse says if the side is longer, then the angle is larger. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me see your thumbs up. I can understand the difference between hinge theorem and the converse. Now let me see your thumbs up. I understand. I have no idea. I kind of get it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Let me see your thumbs up. I understand the difference. Okay, most of you get it. Let me explain one more time. So hinge theorem says if one side is congruent and the other side is also congruent, but the angle can be different, right? So hinge theorem says, the original hinge theorem says, if the angle is this, if this angle is bigger than this angle, then the side is longer than this side. That's the hinge theorem. The converse of hinge theorem says same thing, one side, two sides are congruent. If the third side is longer than this, then the angle, this angle must be larger because the side is longer. Okay, so hinge theorem goes from, you look at the angle and you figure out the length of the side. Converse, you look at the side and you figure out the angle of the triangles. Same idea, different approach, different order. Okay, now let's do some practice. So these questions are where we can use hinge theorem to solve these questions. So given AC is congruent to BC, that's what this little marks represents. And measure of ACR is 18, it's given, and measure of BCR is 32. Okay, and how do we know? Do we know AR and B are which one is larger? And we have to be able to say why. Okay, first of all, which one do you think is larger? AR is larger, BR is larger. Okay, everybody turn on your mics.
Yeah.
Get ready, go.
ER.
Larger, that is correct. But why? How do we know? Just because it looks longer, that's not good enough.
Because they have like they share one side, and it says the other one more side is congruent, and by the hinge theorem, the angle RCV is larger than angle ACR, so we can say it's.
Daniela did very well, because I didn't want you to just say because 32 is bigger than 18, that's why this is longer than that. We can't do that. That's not good enough. We have, like Daniela said, we have to be sure that they have two congruent sides. So this triangle and this triangle, they have two congruent sides and different angles. That's why we know for sure by hinge theorem that side is longer than AR, or BR is longer than AR. Make sense? All right. Now let's do a converse of, oh, yeah, that was a solution. That's what we just said. Okay. Let's do a converse of hinge theorem. Okay, so given AC is 18, AC is 18 right here, and AD is also 18, and CAB is 31 degrees, and BAD is that, 2x minus 3. Write an inequality or set of inequalities to describe the possible values for x. Okay, so let me give you some hints for this one. So this one, we know these two sides are congruent and they share one side. So they meet the first condition, right? Then we can say we can compare these two angles and these two sides. We don't know the exact value or measure of the angles, but we know the exact measure of the side, right? So because CB is longer than DB, what can we tell about these two angles? By converse of hinge theorem,
We can say angle CAB is larger than angle BAD.
Good, which means 31 is larger than 2x minus 3. We can say that, right? Okay, but there's another thing we can figure out. We know this angle has to be bigger than what? It has to be bigger than? It has to be less than 31, right? It has to be less than 31, but it has to be bigger than? Anybody?
0.
0, thank you. Oh, that's too big. It has to be bigger than 0. So values for x. It says describe the possible values for x, so we have to solve for x. Okay, so everybody, this is algebra 1 stuff, solving inequality. Can you solve for x? You can do it that way or the other way. Okay. So I know it's 34 divided by 2, which is has to be less than 17. And do the other way, I know it has to be 3 divided by 2. So it's bigger than 3 over 2. If you forgot how to do this kind of stuff, solving inequality, then I think you need to go visit Khan Academy, search inequality, and do some practice questions. It's going to help you. Okay, but because we're learning about triangle inequalities, you're going to see a lot of inequality signs and algebra related to equality. Okay, so let's just look at the answer. Has. Okay, so it has to be less than 17 because of these reasons, and has to be bigger than 1.5 because the entire angle has to be greater than 0. It cannot be equal to 0. It has to be greater than 0. Okay. Any questions about hinge theorem or converse of hinge theorem? You feel pretty confident? All right. So let's do one proof. Let's do one proof. I want everybody to go to page 300 in your textbook. Can we all go to page 300 in your textbook? There's one reason that we can use that we have not learned before. Well, not so much. Oh, sorry, it's not 300. It's actually 330, sorry. Page 330. So it says solving compound inequalities, and it's got a little table that says property and algebra. Properties of inequality. Do you see that? And addition property, subtraction property, multiplication, division, we all know that. And transitive, we know that one too. But Grace, can you read the very last property on page 330?
Duration property.
The one right below.
Comparison property.
The one that says comparison property. Okay, so everybody, let's look at comparison property. If A plus C, then and B is greater than 0, then A is less than C. All right, take a minute, take maybe 30 seconds to read it and try to picture it in your mind. See if you make it, if it makes sense. Okay, and let me give you an example of that property. Okay, so when they say let's say this is A, B, C, and D. So we have a triangle. We actually have two triangles. And okay, watch this. When I say angle ABC, oh sorry, angle BAC is larger than angle DAC. Is this true? Is this a true statement? BAC and DAC. Okay, let me see your thumbs up. I think it's true. I don't think it's true. I have no idea. Decide. Ready? Thumbs ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more time. One more time. Everybody's looking at the same picture, right? This triangle. There's triangle ABC, and we're looking at this big angle, right? And we're also looking at this small angle right here. Let me use a different color. Okay, so that's DAC. Okay, and that's BAC. Is angle BAC bigger, larger than DAC? If it's true, yes, thumbs up. Not true, thumbs down. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. You are right. It is true that the larger angle is actually larger than the smaller. But what is the reason? What is the evidence behind that statement? Okay, and that reason is what we just learned. Comparison property of inequality that says if A plus B is C and B is greater than 0, then A is less than C. What it means is if this larger angle is addition of these two triangles, so the yellow angle and the blue angle, if we add them up, it's the red angle, right? So it's almost like, so the red is C, and then the small ones are A and B. If A plus B is C, and we know B is greater than 0, then A must be less than C. That's what the property says. Does this make sense? Okay? 그냥 한마디로 하면 이 앵글은 얘랑 더한 건데 얘가 0이 아니니까 얘보다 얘는 작을 수밖에 없다. Okay? It's very common sense, but there has to be some solid evidence behind in any claim, any statement that we make. Okay, now with that said, with that in mind, we are going to go to okay, go to page 342. 342. Go to page 342, and we're going to look at the example number 3, example 3, where it says write 2 column proofs. Okay, let's look at that one together. Okay, did everybody find the question? Example 3. Joy, did you find the question? We are on page 342. 342. Do you have the book with you? Textbook? You don't have the textbook?
진아가 가지고 있어요.
진아, 빨리 갖다 주세요.
저 오늘 준대요.
Okay, then I'm going to take a picture and share on our. Okay, Joy. Joy, 다음부터는 선생님이 이렇게 수업할 때 책이 없잖아요? 그러면 어떻게 해야 되겠어요? 빨리 선생님한테 말하거나 친구한테 물어봐서 그 사진 찍어서 보내달라고 하세요. 그러니까 가만히 있는 거는 that's not a very smart thing to do. Okay. All right. So I just sent you the picture. We're gonna look at the picture together. Okay. 일단 I guess it's a good thing that I have it on here, so we can just share it on Zoom. Okay. So this is. Okay, so let's look at this together. So KL is congruent to NL, right? And we have to prove KM is larger than NM. Okay, so we're comparing 2 sides. Okay, notice there is a segment that's shared by 2 triangles. Okay, so the first thing you should notice, when there are 2 congruent sides of two different triangles, which theorem are we supposed to use? The hinge theorem or the converse of the hinge theorem, right? But we are supposed to prove a side length. That means we have to know the angle first. So if you know the angle and you're proving the side length, is that hinge theorem or converse of hinge theorem? If you have the angle, but you're looking
hinge theorem.
Yes. If you know the angle, if you want to compare the side, it's hinge theorem. If it's the other side, other way around, then it's going to be the converse. Okay. Now let's look at the statements and reasons. So KL and NL are congruent as given. Okay. And this right here, they share the same side by reflexive property of congruence. Okay. Now here's the important part. KLM, this larger angle, is the addition of the 2 smaller angles. Okay, by angle addition postulate. 이거 다 우리가 이해하죠, 이거는. Okay, and then next, KLM must be greater than NLM. So KLM must be greater than NLM. Okay, and what is the reason? The comparison property of inequality. Okay, that's the new reason we just learned, and it's going to appear a lot. So I want you to get into habit of writing and figuring out this statement or the reason. 그냥 우리가 딱 볼 때, 얘가 얘보다 더 크잖아 라고 말하면 안 되는 거예요. 얘랑 겹쳐져 있고, because we know this angle is not 0, that larger angle must be greater than the smaller angle. That's what this comparison property is talking about. Okay, now that we have everything, because we know this is larger than this, we know this segment is larger than this segment by hinge theorem. Okay, so I want you to take a minute to go over to go over the steps one more time. See if you can understand every single step. Okay? And you are going to work on these two questions. These two questions will be part of your homework. So if you can do this now, then we can go over. I think it'll be easy when you do the homework. So everybody, take a look at the statements one more time and do number 3-8. 3A.